Hey friend, welcome to Grounded, the vestibular podcast. I'm Dr. Madison Oak, aka the Vertigo Doctor. I am the vestibular physical therapist who is here to help you with all things dizziness, imbalance, and vertigo. In this podcast, we explore the fascinating world of vestibular disorders. Come with me as we dive headfirst into a journey to discover the mysteries of the brain, the inner ear, and the balance mechanisms that keep us grounded. Whether you've been managing dizziness for one day or 25 years, we're going to get real about what it takes to manage dizziness, handle the anxiety cycle, and thrive, not just survive, with your vestibular disorder. First, I want to remind you that this is never medical advice. Remember, this podcast is for informational purposes only and may not be the best fit for you and your personal situation. It shall not be construed as medical advice. The information and education provided here is not intended or implied to supplement or replace professional medical treatment, advice, and or diagnosis. Always check with your own physician, medical professionals, and healthcare team before trying or implementing any information found here. Hello and welcome back to Grounded. This week's win of the week is by Sarah S. She says, "Since I spend a lot of time in our living room, I decided to make a little collage board so I could hang it and look at it during the day. I filled it with 2 vision boards, inspiring quotes, mantras, my daily schedule, and some goals I want to achieve over the next few months. Hopefully, this will help with shifting my mindset. Also, I went to Costco for the first time in forever, which I was proud of how well I did. I went to my husband's softball game, which I haven't done since last year, and I had a great time. Afterwards, we went with some friends and grabbed some takeout at a pretty busy restaurant, and I actually felt pretty good. We had friends over for the next few hours, and it was really nice to host them." And then she attached a picture of her board, which I love so much. It's great. 10 out of 10. I like this for a lot of reasons, but honestly, it got this week's one of the week because it has to do with nervous system regulation, which looks like a lot of different things, and it depends on the person, which is what we're talking about in this episode. If you read the episode title, you know already. So I love this because it helps you think of all of the things that you can do. It helps her find positive mantras, look at things that are positive to her, look at her goals. And all of those things end up helping to regulate your nervous system. A lot of people think regulating my nervous system just means I'm going to feel calm all the time or I'm going to do some breathing exercises. It does not. So, as we get into the episode, we'll talk more about that. But congratulations to Sarah. This is a huge one, both for your nervous system as well as for you personally. So, love all the wins. Yay for Costco. It's such a hard one. Hosting friends, a bunch of things that she had said a couple weeks ago that she wanted to do. So, yay, go you, Sarah. Can't wait to see what you do next. All right, let's get into the episode. Your nervous system and why it matters for vestibular migraine and dizziness. So, let's start with the basics. Your nervous system is your body's command center in general. It regulates everything from digestion and heartbeat to attention, stress response, and balance. Your nervous system is literally everything. And when we're talking about nervous system regulation, we think about the autonomic, aka the automatic nervous system. It has 2 main branches: the sympathetic system, which is fight, flight, or freeze, and then the parasympathetic system, which is rest, digest, repair, and restore. A healthy nervous system, or a quote, normally functioning nervous system, can shift relatively easily between these 2 states, and that flexibility is actually what we call regulation. For a lot of people, especially if you have chronic dizziness and a vestibular disorder, that flexibility kind of gets lost in the sauce, and we might get stuck in fight or flight or freeze. Jennifer Warner, who is one of my very favorite therapists, I believe she is at Jen Wellness on Instagram. I will find that for you. But Jen talks a lot about this thing called the emotions thermometer. And the emotions thermometer is a 0 to 10 scale. And in general, we want to talk about this from the thought of 5 is regulated. Okay, it's Jen Wellness Therapy, all one word. And when we think about this emotions thermometer, we think about when we're really stressed out. Like, think about a time when you're feeling really stressed out and you're like, thoughts are flying everywhere. I feel so stressed. I don't like this at all. XYZ. A 0 is when you may have thought in the past that you feel frozen. You're like, I can't make any decisions. This is also a really bad time to make decisions at a 10 as well as at a 0. When you're like, I feel numb, I feel nothing, I feel like my body is like shutting down, I'm dissociating, things like that. That's freeze. These are all sympathetic responses that your body is doing in order to protect you. It is a protection mechanism. This is not something that your body should not be doing. In fact, it's something your body should be doing in order to protect you. So, again, it's supposed to be there, it's supposed to be happening, but this 10 and 0 are places where people tend to get stuck. 5 is the best, most regulated, like I feel calm, I feel good, I'm sitting out in the sun, I went for a walk today, like I did what I needed to get done, I slept well last night. Like when you're just feeling like, I feel good. Think about a time in the past where you feel good. That's typically a 5. The best time to make decisions, all the things. But being a human means you sometimes hit the fan and go to a 10. You sometimes really are not having a good day and you go down to a 0, a 1, or a 2. Those are all not good times to make decisions or make change in your life. But sometimes we get stuck there. And this flexibility or this ability to shift between parasympathetic and sympathetic easily is what, again, we call regulation. But for some people, that flexibility gets lost. Now, that can happen for a lot of reasons, but life with migraine, I'm like really referencing a lot of Instagrams today, but I've found so many good ones recently. Um, Someone at Life with Migraine, her name is Morgan. She is a neuroscience researcher. We love her. She also has migraine. This is a really tough topic to talk about. And I think she broke it down really well. So I'm going to read word for word the post. It is from May 2nd, 2025, if you want to go find it. And the first slide says, what I talk about when I talk about nervous system regulation and migraine, this is what I mean, and then in parentheses, and this is what I don't. Let's be clear. Nervous system regulation isn't about stress relief. It is the foundation of migraine management. If your brain constantly perceives threat, dysregulation, or overwhelm, no medication, diet, or device will fully work. A brain stuck in survival mode cannot find relief. Then she quotes someone saying, but the CGRP blocker really helped reduce my attacks. Yes, and here's why that matters. CGRP amplifies migraine signals and dilates blood vessels. CGRP blockers reduce that signaling, but also reduce your nervous system's reactivity to that signaling. By interrupting the migraine feedback loop, your brain begins to recalibrate its sensitivity. That shift, less threat, less hypervigilance, is a nervous system regulation in action. Next slide. But I changed my diet, cut a trigger food, and I felt better. Yes, and the mechanism is key. Elimination diets, which we all know I have thoughts and feelings on. Elimination diets reduce migraine for many people, but it's not because foods are inherently bad for migraine. They work by reducing overall load on an overstimulated nervous system. Less input equals fewer threshold breaches. It is not solely about dietary content. It's about reducing the burden on an already sensitized nervous system. Next slide says, you don't mindset your way out of chronic migraine. You rewire your way out. Medications, devices, exercise, therapy, trauma work, boundaries, nervous system education. They change how your brain processes threat. This means less hypervigilance, less migraine signaling, and more space to heal. When the nervous system is stuck, migraine thrives. And then a bunch of bullets says, Cortical excitability increases, migraine thresholds lower, light, sound, and motion become threats, digestion stalls, sleep breaks down, the brain can't turn off. You're not imagining it, you are not broken, but your brain does believe this is necessary to survive. Next slide says, and this is why you can try everything and still feel trapped. A migraine brain is stuck in the loop of protection, but you can retrain the system to stop this loop. And then she has a workbook on brain retraining that she talks about there at the link in her bio. And if you want to go look at that, I think that's great. This is so important. I feel like I could just like stop recording now because she said it best. Your brain is overstimulated and overreacting to a lot of things. It is not your fault. Again, this is not your fault. This is not something you have done to yourself intentionally. It is something that unfortunately has simply happened, but fortunately, you can rewire your way out of. This is why when we say, well, when I say you can't like think yourself out of dizziness or you can't mindset your way out of dizziness or out of migraine or hypersensitivity, she said that, but I also always say that because a lot of vestibular educators are like, you can just think your way out of this. That really makes me mad. It grinds my gears. I do not promote these people because they make me mad. But at the end of the day, your vestibular system, your brain, your nervous system, they are teammates. So when you're dizzy, that's an error signal being sent by your brain. Your brain interprets that as a threat. It causes your body to jump into a fight or flight. Your heart races, your vision narrows, your thoughts spiral. The more anxious and dysregulated you feel, the more intense the dizziness seems. The loop continues. Then you're like, I'm going to cut out chocolate. Okay, now that is training your brain, right? That chocolate is part of the threat. And so now you see chocolate, you taste chocolate, brain, boom, automatically goes into that fight or flight. Now, sure, some people do have food triggers. This is not about food triggers. But this fight of, I have to fix this now. This hypervigilance, I need to find the next best thing, the next best doctor, the next best program, the next best, etc. Obsessively tracking symptoms. This is why I never recommend tracking more than 6 to 8 weeks, if at all. The underlying belief of, if I just try harder, I can make this go away, right? None of those things work. Avoiding situations or isolating yourself because it might trigger dizziness. I don't know what's going to happen. Grocery store, driving, screens, friends' houses. All of those things, although yes, they are overwhelming, they are very stimulating, avoiding those things and being like, if I do that, I know I'm going to get dizzy, and doing that future prediction thing is making this worse. This can also look like perfectionism and or burnout. So if I don't do all these exact things right 100% of the time, I'm never going to get better. That's also driving that dysregulation, that lack of flexibility. And then the freeze, right? The shutdown, depression, brain fog, feeling numb, detached, or like, what's the point? Common in chronic dizziness, especially when progress stalls. But we have to remember, healing is not linear, and progress can stall. It's a normal part of having a chronic illness. And then there's also fawn, which I didn't really talk much about, but that's being over accommodating for others, minimizing your symptoms, and people pleasing. Oh, it's not that bad. I can do this. Or, you need this done. I got it, right? For years. And this can could have happened prior to the vestibular disorder presenting itself, right? Like, I always do everything for everyone else, but like I skip my own gym time and skip making myself lunch and don't drink enough water and don't do like, self-care is not mani-pedi. Self-care is like putting yourself first on a regular basis and not the fawn response. The I'm going to like think about other people besides yourself for sure, but also put yourself first because you also matter. You need to not ignore your limits. You need to learn to say no, because ignoring your limits to avoid disappointing others is fawn, and that is also a dysregulated habit. And it is honestly the most common habit I see in women. I'd say probably 95% of women, myself included. I'm working on it. But this is not a flaw. This is your body's way of trying to protect you. This is your body's way of saying, this worked for me as a child, as a teen, in my 20s, and I'm trying to get it to work for me now, but it is no longer a pattern that works for you, and staying stuck in these states makes healing harder, and it wires your brain to stay in defense and saying, I just need to not do this thing, or I need to avoid XYZ, instead of I can kind of push through this repair. And this is not just like pushing through symptoms, this is rewiring your brain to rewire downwards in a way, um, but also rewiring in a way of repairing. And everyone's like, well, what do I do? It is all of the things. It is how you eat, how you sleep, how you exercise, how much time you spend outside, how much time you're scrolling, things like that. So when you start to regulate, you are not trying to feel calm all the time. You are not trying to avoid dizziness. You are trying to build a calmer baseline that your body knows how to return to. So coming down to that 5, that calmer baseline, I'm safe. I can handle this. I know what to do when dizziness happens. I don't need to stay on high alert. That baseline, that 5, even if you're like at a 10 all the time, coming down to an 8 or a 7 will make a huge difference. You don't have to perfectly be at a 5. I know I am not perfectly at a 5, right? So things that can help you with this, everything in vestibular group fit. As always, every single course, educational piece, etc., it is all there to help you. There are tons of videos on how to return to the grocery store, how to regulate, how to do somatic tracking, etc. But somatic tracking is one that can be really helpful. Kate Schwab, who is at Your Migraine Therapist on Instagram, is excellent for this. I recommend working with her highly, highly, highly. But this is the practice of observing your symptoms and how they physically feel in your body without judgment, and remembering that you are safe in your body. And this teaches your brain that symptoms do not equal danger. Symptoms mean this is something that's going on. I know how to manage it, and I'm going to be okay. Always orienting to safety. So pause, take a step back, feel your feet on the floor, remind yourself you're not in danger. Help interrupt these spirals that happen, right? To the point of people are like, I haven't left my bedroom in 10 weeks or more, right? I can I can stop that spiral and instead wire towards something else. Co-regulation with others, talking to someone who gets it. Join vestibular group fit. We get it. Safety is contagious, which is amazing. When one person's like, oh, I did this thing, and someone else reads it, or you read it, and you're like, oh, they did that thing. And I remember seeing them, and they weren't able to do that thing before. Okay, now I'm going to try it. That can be really, really, really helpful. Me sitting here and being like, I promise you, you can do anything, is not as effective as you seeing or hearing about someone with a vestibular disorder actually doing it. Movement based regulation. So, walking, exercise, strengthening, Pilates, yoga, floor exercise, dance, whatever. All of those things are helpful. And I know a lot of people are like, but movement makes me dizzier. I hear you. But I say this every week, you cannot not exercise. Period. There is literally almost no reason not to. Even people with MECFS, if you have this, you know, the ME is not the CFS, but the ME, the ME part of that is the important part here, because oftentimes, I guess it's all important, but people with PEM is what I'm trying to say. People with PEM, that is like a different post-exertional malaise where you develop a new symptom post a new symptom post exercise, basically. But someone said recently to me um, that in group they have found ways to move that do not trigger their PEM, which is literally amazing. Okay. Christine said this. This might have been a win of the week the other day, but it says, I just wanted to hop in here and say thank you so much for all the tips and ideas. I am very slowly starting to see shifts in my capacity. I am finding ways to move that don't kick me into PEM, which if you have PEM, you know how amazing that is. I went to 2 business trips that included flights this month, and all the travel tips slash migraine kit tips were so helpful. I'm sleeping better. I've also started using the Truvaga this week, and my average HRV has more than doubled, which is nervous system regulation. I also used it to successfully curb a menstrual migraine, and I'm usually one day in the dark room in agony every single month, even with my acute meds. So that is a huge win. I'm also really loving all the Ruwell projects. You can use code VertigoDoc, and there's always a discount on there, and find them really supportive. I feel so hopeful that I will continue to see positive progress. Thank you for all of what you pour into this community. That is a Vestibular Group Fit member. All of those things are nervous system regulation. Not once in there did she say she took a deep breath. Not once. But every single one of those things is some sort of nervous system regulation, just like that post from Morgan was saying. So I hear from so many people saying, like, why does XYZ make it feel like my life is over? I'm unraveling. It is not just the symptom, it is your nervous system's response to that symptom. And we have to remember emotions are not in our control, but we do have control over our thoughts a lot of the time. And so even if the thoughts feel out of control, this my life is over, this is never going to get better, whatever, you also have control over thoughts that you have control over. That seems like it doesn't make sense, but it does. You have control over, but I can get better. This does get better. I have a toolkit. I know what to do right now. And write it down. Keep it in your phone. Tattoo it to your forehead or whatever. Write it on your bathroom mirror. This is what I do when I get an attack. I take my acute medication. I use my essential oils. I take some breaths. I go for a walk. I use my neuromodulation device. Because in the moment, it's so scary and so horrible that it feels like it's never going to end. There's nothing you can do. So literally write it down in 100 different places. This is what I do when I get an attack. This is how I regulate myself. This is how I start to feel better. And slowly but surely, it will become way more automatic, way more obvious. And over time, your nervous system will become more flexible because it's not about feeling calm all the time. It is all about how you are able to respond to difficult and new stimuli. If you have questions about this, thank you so much for joining. If you have any questions about this, please send me a DM on Instagram. I am more than happy to help. We are right in the middle of the 60-day summer challenge, which is so fun. If you haven't, we're about 2.5-ish weeks in. So you probably can't get enough points to win. But if you are like, I desperately need to be a part of this challenge, I guess we could find a way for that to work. But also we'll have another holiday challenge like November-ish. So maybe you can wait for that. And or as always, join us in Vestibular Group Fit. Use code GROUNDED at checkout for 15% off your first subscription cycle. All right. I love you, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye.